All right, guys, welcome to the Buff Show. This is super exciting. This has been kind of in my head for a while, and today we're going to discuss the Ogden Valley incorporation. First, kind of mini docu-series on this. We have Mark Ferrin in the house tonight. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Paden.
I stopped you when you were out in your field the other day. Well, this was probably a few months ago, and I'm like, I really want to get involved and do some stuff and like be a part of the change that's happening in the valley. And the more I talked and thought about it, I thought about getting kind of more involved. But I was like, I don't know if I have the time that I could commit to that. And then I was like, but we have a podcast that we've been running for, almost 2 years now. We have over 100 episodes now. I'm like, we could use this platform to kind of shed some light to what's going on in the valley, hopefully be another resource. I know there's a lot out there, but be a resource to what is happening here, because this is like historical. It's pretty crazy to be a part of it. So, and you've been a key role throughout it. So maybe give us kind of your background and what got you to where we're at today. And
Great, happy to. Background's easy. My family was sent by Brigham Young up here in the late 1800s to expand and settle in this neighborhood. And so they came. And the first bishop of Eden and ultimately Huntsville was my ancestors. And then ultimately they said, farming is tough up here. The water is difficult. It's dry, it's hot. What else can we do? So they built a sawmill and put it in Wolf Creek. And so the water coming down created enough of a propulsion that you could run a mill, and they cut from the timbers, from the pine trees, railroad ties. And
No way.
So the railroad ties that go west of the Wasatch Mountains here in the valley, going out across Nevada and everywhere else, going to California, came out of Wolf Creek.
that's crazy.
And it works out that the United States government pays the railroad company in land. And so they, the ancestors, did the sawmill, and when the railroad paid them, the railroad, gave 900 acres of the valley floor to the Ferrins.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
So that's why I live there.
Yeah.
Because I don't own the 900 acres anymore. I own the 10 or whatever it is. But when I took the deed in to pay off the house purchase, they said, you spelled your name wrong here. And I'm going, no. I said, you guys spelled my name wrong. And they said, no, you're at the bottom of the 20-page list of owners. The first guy was the people who got it from the railroad. And although the last name is the same, that's not you. You're 20 pages down. James Madison Ferrin was the first guy who got it, the 900 acres. And I'm at the bottom of the list with my 5 acres, and it's former James Madison Ferrin property. But that's how the valley got settled. It came up, we started doing agriculture, and most of my ancestors are still in the cemeteries around here. So it's all good.
That is wild.
Historical.
That's very cool.
That's wild. So how did you get involved with this whole incorporation, and why did you feel like there was a need to incorporate into our own little city here?
I'm a career attorney. I'm the first graduating class from BYU's law school 50 years ago, and have always wanted to live here. And so attorneys have to pay the bills too. So my first job was, where I was living was in Farmington. I became the Farmington city attorney and learned all about all the chaos and excitement that goes along with being in a little town in Utah and trying to be a city attorney. And I decided that was going to be real fun, but not very lucrative. So I joined the military and traveled around the world, stationed in the Philippines, stationed in the Pentagon, stationed in Taiwan. Ultimately, the Department of Defense said, get out of the suit and come be a civilian. So I ended up going back as the general counsel for the Department of Defense in Europe. And my job was to try and keep the corruption down, because when you're spending $100 million a day back then in the 90s just to feed the troops that were living in Europe, there can be a lot of graft and corruption. Mm-hmm. So it was really fun for me.
Yeah.
Buying lettuce from Israel or buying yogurt from Norway was really quite a fun deal.
That's crazy.
And then I got an offer from an outfit called Thiokol. They were looking for somebody to help them with their relationships with the government. So I left the government, went to work for Thiokol, did their job as general counsel, vice president for them until we sold the company. We sold the company to Northrop Grumman. They do the same things we used to. They still make missiles for the submarines and missiles for the silos. They just call it a different name and get paid a lot more money. So when I sold the company, I retired, and it's been happily ever after ever since.
Wow. That's crazy. I didn't know that background.
Yeah.
It's a good background.
That is good.
Sounds like a challenge, but a good challenge.
It has been very fun.
So with the Valley here, when was the initial thought of like incorporation? Has it always kind of been a rumor in the background? I feel like when I really started hearing about it was just a few years ago, when there was a bunch of projects trying to get pushed across, and a lot of people up in the Valley were like, we're not being heard down at Weber County.
Like everywhere in Utah, we're growing. Mm-hmm. We're attractive, we're appealing, and it becomes expensive, but you still come. So everybody is coming and growing Utah. And as Utah, and particularly the valleys of Utah, whether it's Park City or Heber Valley or Ogden Valley or whatever, they've all gotten new neighbors, friends, mm-hmm. and opinions. Mm-hmm. And as a result, when you get more people, you get more opinions, and it's difficult when you don't have local elected officials to handle all the opinions.
Yes, that would be challenging.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the biggest challenge for Ogden Valley, is we're so separated from Weber County, where just the differences in communities and problems that we face, I think the mountain range makes a big difference. It'd kind of be like Morgan being wrapped into like Farmington or Layton, into Davis County. I grew up in Morgan, and they've always been kind of their own county as long as I can remember. And it seemed like it was a pretty smooth, like, again, I was a kid back then, but there was less, there was more of a voice for the people there, versus what I've noticed being in Eden for the past 5 years. There's definitely like a disconnect, it's seemed like. So what has been your role in like the incorporation up here?
I got asked by a bunch of long-term Sons of the Pioneers to be the principal sponsor of the incorporation. So I have been from the beginning, when we started this a few years ago, jumping through all the legal hoops to satisfy the state requirement to empower a municipality. The Constitution of Utah is an interesting document in that it gives executive power to the state. When the state created the boundaries for itself, it at the same time simultaneously created the county boundaries and said executive power is in the state to decide, and administrative power is in the counties to decide. And so they wanted the counties to be able to do the general governmental services, but they wanted the cities to be able to decide what they wanted to do specifically. So what can you imagine are some of the administrative services that counties get into?
Counties, all the running of the cities, the local cities within there, the road maintenance, the fire, police.
The schools, the
yeah.
everything else like that, that are basic administrative functions. But who would zone the neighborhoods?
Yeah.
Is that an executive decision or an administrative decision? It's always been determined in Utah that it's an executive decision. And so where cities, what they do mostly is decide what they want in their city by their executive decision. They still get all the county administrative services. Some county administrative services everybody gets to pay for, whether they're, how about Weber County Fire Department or Weber County Sheriff's Department, separate administrative sections of the government, but it's for everybody. We all get to pay, we all get to share that. And each of the individual cities within the county generally contract with the administrative services of the county. Like we've talked with the sheriff and say, how much will it cost to have these many services in Ogden Valley? And they can come up with a number, give us an estimate, give us the historical records, and then the city can decide how much we want to pay for that with a direct contract.
So what were the steps leading up to it? A group of residents in the valley were like, hey, really think now's the time that we need to see if we can push this through. You were kind of the sponsor, kind of in charge of getting things, making sure they could get set up right.
Right.
And that probably involved that feasibility study and everything that went through there. Can you kind of walk us through kind of like the steps that we had to go through to get us to this point?
A bunch of the pioneer residents up here said, you should do this, Mark.
Yeah.
And I went, I don't want to. I'm way too old and don't want to, blah, blah, blah. And they said, well, you have to. And I said, well, why don't you do it? And they said, because we don't want to.
Yeah.
And so we're asking you. So I said, okay, what is it you want me to do? And it was, we'd like you to do the administrative decisions to apply for and run the initial setup, establishment of a municipal city. And I said, okay, fine, let's start with that.
How many like new cities have popped up in Utah in the past, say, 5 or 10 years? Do you know?
Not very many.
Yeah.
It's 2 or 3 or 4. But
yeah, very few.
Yeah, it's not, we're way behind the power curve.
Yeah.
We probably should have done this
years and years ago.
10 years ago. But you mentioned you're from Morgan.
Yeah.
Morgan County and Morgan City make it real simple.
Yeah.
Because they're
one in the same.
But you've got also municipal areas in Morgan County like Hennifer.
Yeah.
How many people are in Hennifer?
Yeah.
200.
Yeah.
But because they set their boundary and their name and recorded it years ago, they're now the executive decision makers for what Hennifer looks like.
Yeah.
Because Ogden Valley didn't do that, we've always just been at the whim of the
county
to approve and provide services that ultimately the city will provide, like the zoning and everything else like that.
Yeah.
But that's how it happens. Huntsville, when I started doing this, my first move was lazy. I'll just go talk to Huntsville Town. And I said, it's simple. If you just draw the boundary of your town to include all the residents of the valley, then it's done. There's no feasibility, There's no nothing. There's just a change in the boundaries. And they thought about it for a couple of weeks and finally came back and said, no,
Not interested.
not interested. And I said, why not? And they said, well, we don't want outer darkness in Huntsville, which I always thought was very interesting. I didn't know we were that different than Huntsville.
Yeah.
But they like being, Huntsville is only capped at only, I think, 700 people can live in their town. And if they're going to be more people than that, then they have to have different municipal elections and different municipal structure.
Yeah.
And so they said, no, we're perfectly happy with what we are. We've got the oldest bar, continuously operating bar in Utah, and we're one of the oldest continually operating towns in Utah, and we just want to stay the same.
So that's crazy. Like Huntsville must have done that. Do you know when they established themselves as a city?
Jefferson Hunt came up when he was the leader of the Mormon battalion that went crazy all the way to California, and then came back. When he got back to Salt Lake, he said, Brigham, where do you want me to go? And he said, take your people and go up there. There's space. So Jefferson Hunt came up to Ogden Valley and laid out the streets of Huntsville to the exact dimensions of Nauvoo,
Oh, wow.
to the inch. So Huntsville is square, perfectly situated on the peninsula going out to the island, and has a very special community
Yeah.
there.
There is something different there.
There is.
It's impressive. But I've always thought, like, why is Huntsville? It just seems like when they did that, they would have just incorporated, Eden, Liberty
And
in it as well.
And
But
that's what I asked, because it would have been that easy. All I would have
Yeah.
had to do was draw the map, and because, then we had to start through what do the steps to get a city. And one of the first steps that the state requires is a feasibility study. You have to decide how much it's going to cost to operate your city.
yeah,
You now have to pay for your police, you have to pay for your fire department, you have to pay for. How much is it going to cost? And how much are you currently paying to have those services be provided by the administrative county?
yeah,
And so that's what a feasibility study is.
right.
The state contracts with sometimes Zions Bank, sometimes everybody else. But that's a feasibility study, and it's required that you pass it under their metrics so that it will be sufficiently probable you can survive as a city.
And I didn't read through all of ours, but what was the gist of it?
It's a lot of pages.
Of the feasibility
Yeah,
study?
it's doable,
Oh, yeah.
and we can most likely save money.
Yes.
That's awesome.
We are paying more, bottom line, we are paying more taxes for the county because their overheads are pretty unusual. As a result, we're paying more money than that. We're paying more money for those services than if we did it ourselves without increasing taxes.
We were talking about that the other day, like what's it going to be? Because I think that's a big concern for a lot of our citizens up here in the Ogden Valley is, are taxes going to go up or are they going to go down? I think that's good to know.
And I think that's really a legitimate question in every government. I mean, we unfortunately have enough experience with the county that we've said our county taxes are going up so much, but we're getting so many new people here to pay for them, maybe it will work out. But it's going to change the valley dramatically if we continue that.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well, and when we just shot that podcast, like I didn't understand the basic fundamentals of property tax, but you basically have like the property values that are being assessed in a certain area and then the budgets for all the entities that provide services to those homes. And so you can actually, it gave a few examples, but where like property values can actually increase, but if the budgets can decrease on those entities or can be eliminated on some of them, like you can actually have a decrease in property taxes. Because I've always heard like, well, your property values are going up, that's why you're being taxed more. But that's not 100% the case. I think that is part of the formula, but it's also the budget of the entities that they have. So your argument is that being incorporated in a city of our own, we can thus control kind of these entities better and keep more of the revenue right up here within Ogden Valley or our city to better control all the expenses, which, and I don't know if people have done this, but you could probably look at Huntsville town and be like, and see the difference. Has anybody done that? Do you know? To like compare like taxes and see if they're taxed less than like somebody that's in Eden or Liberty?
They minimize their expenses.
Yeah.
They don't, they pretty much they tried their own police department, and it got way too expensive for them
I
just
see.
to have one person.
I see.
So it's easier to just get services from providers that are already in existence.
Gotcha.
And negotiate a favorable exchange for the taxpayers and the providers.
I see. That makes sense.
The counties are designed to provide those
Services.
administrative services
Yeah.
to everybody in their boundaries.
Right.
That's why they were set up the way they were. And then the cities
I meant for zoning and
are meant for crazies because we like our own neighborhood
Yeah.
the way we want it to be. So it becomes a little difficult.
Well, and I
That's-
think that's what it boils down to is just we want that control up here. And that's kind of the gist of why we wanted the incorporation in the first place, right?
And it was an overwhelming vote. I was really quite surprised. Although I've worked on it for 3 years, I anticipated a successful vote, but it was the same as the presidential and the governor. The president's split was 51-49 in favor of our current president.
mm-hmm.
The state was 52-48 in favor of our current governor. And the incorporation question, shall we incorporate the city, was what, do you know the numbers?
I think it was 64%
Yeah,
positive.
it was in the
Yeah.
60s. Yeah.
Almost 70-30
Yeah.
in favor of it. So that's
Yeah.
at least 2-1. So there was a pretty handy majority of everybody who voted, not necessarily everybody who lives here, but everybody who voted thought,
Yeah.
we ought to do this.
Well, and I had conversation with a lot of people, and they were like, "Is it good or is it bad? Are taxes going to go up? Are they going to go down? Is it going to be for better? Or is it going to be for worse?" And I'm like, honestly, it just depends on who gets involved and who's running it. You know, it just like it is with Weber County. You know, running it. Like we could have stayed with Weber County had the right people in place and still like maybe had a better outcome. But I think we'll have a better chance of a better outcome and more control and freedom and power within our own little city up here if it's within our city. And I think that was kind of the gist of what people fell in love with was let's keep it within our city and chances are we'll have better odds of that. And it's been cool seeing everybody that's stepping up. Like today is August 11th, tomorrow's election day.
Primary elections are tomorrow.
And it's going to be awesome, but it's been cool to see all the candidates out, like running and stuff and everything that's been going on. I just feel bad that I haven't been more involved in the process because I think it's a huge, like.
You
Hey,
should have.
I
You
know,
should have been.
I know. But
Anybody younger than I am
yeah,
should have been involved.
Right.
Because they're going to have to live and grow and do the things that we want to do. So
Yeah.
I hope we get lots of candidates. And I think we have, somebody told me I have 28 candidates for all the different jobs right now. And that's amazing.
yeah, that is amazing.
I'm delighted.
Yeah. And it's going to be cool to see how it all unfolds. So that's where we're at right now. We're in the primaries. So what's kind of the next steps moving forward? What does it look like, I guess, leading up till is it the general? Is that what they call it, the general election?
Right, the general election. Weber County will process all the ballots. So once they get all the preliminary election ins tomorrow, they will process them, and they're great. They've been doing ballots forever. They know how to do it. They're really sharp, and they are timely, and they work so hard on it. Because my wife years ago was asked to be on Weber school districts, which is the most expensive part of your tax paying, was asked to represent the valley and do Weber school districts board. So she did that. And then they said, you did a really good job on that. Will you represent all of northern Utah? So she was on the state school board of education.
Oh, wow.
which is 60 cents of every dollar we spend for taxes between either the local or the state school expenses.
Yeah.
And so she understands expenses and she understands elections, but she's very nice and has not burned any of the bridges at the Weber County election people. They like her, they'll tolerate me, and it's all good. So I compliment them immensely. I expect the primaries to be a lot of work for them.
Yeah.
But I think they'll do a great job tomorrow, and I think we'll all have the opportunity then go from 4 or 5 to 2
Yeah.
to decide who we want to get in the boat and row with. Because we're all doing this.
Yeah.
It's our city. It's not like we can say, well, you didn't and you didn't. It's our city. So
Yeah.
we need to decide who's going to row and how soon.
So after this, we'll find out who the main contestants or people are running. It'll be 2 in every category, I guess.
Every district, and then the 2 for the mayor.
The 2 for the mayor, and what we have is it's a mayor and 5 commission.
Council.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. When's the general election? November?
Right. Just
Is it 15th or
it's-
something? Or
it's like the second Tuesday in November or
Okay.
something like
Cool.
that. But it's the general election. We won't miss it.
And so, kind of I guess leading up to that, currently we have kind of the transition team that's in place, right? Kind of helping us get to that point, and then they'll probably continue doing like some meet and greets with the officials at that point, just getting to know them, what they stand for, things like that. Hopefully, we can have a few of them come on, our show and talk with them.
That'd be great.
What their goals are for the community, background, and everything like that.
And whether they win or lose in the preliminaries or even the final election, I hope everybody will participate
Yeah.
in the decisions, the
Right.
policies. You can't just sit.
No.
You've got to get in and row.
Right.
And so the more people get involved, either as a candidate, if you're less than 75, get in.
Yeah.
If you're living here, jump in. Be
Yeah.
a candidate now or be a candidate 3 years from now or whatever.
Yeah.
But be involved in the city because it's going to take a lot of rowing to get us where we want to be.
So, what are some of the ideas that people can get involved? Like the best ways? I know they have like a bunch of meet and greets and like different meetings and stuff like that. If somebody's limited on time, a couple hours a week, what would be the best way for them to kind of jump in?
I think the best way is to talk with the candidates.
Yeah.
You need to get with them on their schedule, and they're remarkable people, and they're all making themselves available to more time than I have, and it's working well. I think that they'll be helpful. And then understand the vocabulary so that you can say, well, what about this, and what about that, and how do you feel about this? I think the newspaper's done a great job up here of trying to give us vocabulary words and help us understand.
Yeah.
And so I think we've got a dialogue to start
Yeah.
and just talk to your neighbors.
Yeah.
Get involved.
And I think there's a lot of, like, I've even seen all the future jobs that will be brought up here just within the city and stuff like that. There's definitely plenty of work to be done to get things rolling here. So,
It just, as far as future jobs, we can spend everybody's taxpayer money times 10. But it's been real interesting, like the county pays the sheriff's department, and everybody up here pays into the sheriff's department. So how many county sheriffs do we want up here? And we contract as a city for the sheriffs to be here. So the sheriff has come up in the last 2 years when we've been holding candidate colleges sessions. The sheriff will come explain the vocabulary and say, we have already got 2 sheriffs up here almost all the time because of the schools. There's just always a truck in front of there and always a truck in front of there. And they can go do other things. How much more help do you want? And I said, well, how much do we need? And they said, we can give you all the numbers. We can give you the tickets and everything else like that. But your nightmare problem is summer parking around the dam.
Right. Yeah.
True.
He said, you don't need a sheriff to do that. Just appoint some old geezer to be the
Parking.
code enforcement officer and go write a piece of paper and put it on the
Tickets.
windshield and say,
Yep.
here's a $200 fine.
Yeah.
You can mail it into the city and we'll let it go. If you don't, we'll report it to the state and you won't be able to register your car next year until you pay the fine. So there's code enforcement officers and there's safety. We need to decide as a city what we want.
Yeah.
And that's a great discussion to have for everybody.
Yeah. I
I
agree.
agree.
So as far as the land use code and everything like that, we have something that's been, has it been in place since 2016, kind of the general plan for Ogden Valley?
Yeah, people worked hard on that for a long time.
Yeah. What's the plan, or what do you foresee happening with the new city and everything and the candidates? Do you think that will be rewritten?
A
Is
good
it
question.
Is it hard to tell?
Depends on who wins,
Yeah.
because if they want it rewritten, they'll be able to, because they will be the representatives of the people.
Yeah.
And if they want to change it the first day or 100 years from now,
Right.
but so many have been working for so long on the general plan that I hope it would be sustainable
Right.
for the first little while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're growing fast, but
There's been a lot of thought put
yeah,
into it. up
they've
to
been
this
working
point.
at it for decades.
Yeah. What are some other things that might potentially could be changing within the first little bit? I guess police enforcement, we could bring that in-house, have more or less. Fire department, is that something, would we ever hire our own, or is it all going to be like contracted out with the county?
At this point, we've got great fire protection services.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're the nicest people. A lot of them just live in Morgan and sleep up here because they're on shift.
Right.
They're great people, and they just come and they just protect us.
Yeah.
And they'll do, I think the last number they gave me when I was visiting with them about how is this going to affect, if we incorporate, how is this going to affect you as a fireman? They're all kind of going, it's not going to affect us at all. And I'm going, well, will you have enough resources? They said, we've got more resources than we need right now because we maybe do 1 or 2 calls to go on fire compared to every 100 we go as EMTs.
Wow.
You old people up here,
Yeah.
you call us to come help you, but you're not hot people. You're not burning the place down. And so they're a great service.
Yes.
But sometimes we think, oh, do we really need new fire trucks? We don't have any buildings above 2 stories here.
Right.
So do we really need a ladder? We don't have enough water pressure to even get up to Nordic Valley. And so that's why the effort is to get the water up there at the top
Yeah.
so that we'll have water pressure. But those are all things that we should think about, develop. But the county's got plenty of resources up here administratively to decide that we're safe.
Yeah. Well, and the cool thing is I guess as we begin this journey, we'll be able to make changes and course correct as we go and really add or take away or change depending on what we feel we need. And I think that was the whole reason why we're doing all of this. So
The only reason why we're doing all this, because
Yeah.
it's kind of disruptive.
yeah,
Everybody pretty much likes what we're doing, but now we're going to have to do it ourselves.
right. It's going to be a lot more time for a lot of people.
It will. And so convince all of your citizen friends they need to contribute some hours too.
Yeah.
It'll be great.
Well, and I mean, it goes back to the whole basis of America and the U.S. It's really freedom and freedom to choose and really protect the areas in which we live and have more choice. And I mean, that's the reason I do a lot of the things that I do is so I have, like, I don't like having a boss, you know, I can be my own boss, you know, and I see that like similarly within, you know, us being a city versus just relying under the county, being told like, no, you can't do that. But now we'll be able to really decide for ourselves. So that'll be.
And there's a lot of questions about what do we want to do? How big do we want the city to be? Right now, the city is drawn to be supportable.
Yeah.
I mean, the Forest Service has got the sides of the hills, and they don't generate any taxes. So if we want to include them in the city, we have to figure out how we're going to pay to fight the fires up there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so there's a balance between how big you want the city to be. Everybody said, Mark, why didn't you put Snow Basin and Powder Mountain in the city? If the city had to pay for the snow removal upon the developments in the neighborhoods of Powder Mountain, we'd be broke in a year.
Right.
And we don't need to help. They've got plenty of money.
Yeah.
The same way with Snow Basin.
Right.
They've got plenty of money, and they're the nicest people in the world. And they're going to host the Olympics again, and we're going to have a great time.
Yeah.
But this time we'll be able to say, can we put a parking place for the Olympics? Can we put a hot tub in your garage when the Swedish downhill girls team wants to rent your house for a year in preparation for the Olympics and needs a hot tub? Those were all questions we had to ask the county the last Olympics.
Yeah.
This year, we should be able to say, what do we want up here in our town?
Yeah, what makes sense for us. Those that live up here understand the area and the dynamics. Yeah, it's been even going from like Morgan City and Morgan County to here, it's night and day difference because it's just so, even though the valleys are pretty similar, Morgan is like 90% private. Over here is like, there's so much public. You got Durfee Creek, you got the Skyline Trail. Like there's so much national land, public land here. And you have the reservoir in the middle and 3 ski resorts. So it's like totally different. And like I look at those two quite a bit and like compare. And now Morgan has Wasatch Peaks going in over there. But again, very private. Over here is very public. And it's crazy the different rules that need to apply with the different areas. And I can see the need of why we needed to do this, and it's going to be cool to see where it goes.
And you bring up Wasatch Peaks. I think that's a classic decision point now. Do we want to expand the city limits the first day to define what happens, or do we want to leave it to the county to put Wasatch Peaks all the way around us?
That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
It is a question.
Because Wasatch Peaks is going to be huge for Morgan County.
And it will be huge everywhere in Utah.
Yeah.
Because Wasatch Peaks is so successful
Yeah.
that you can bet all of Monte Cristo and all of
Right.
is going to need some kind of direction. And
Yeah.
if you say, well, that's all part of our neighborhood. For those who are members of the church, the stake boundary in Huntsville Stake goes to the county, to the county,
To the
county, to
Yeah.
the county.
Yeah.
So we all think that's the neighborhood that comes to church, that's the neighborhood that comes to the elementary school, that's the neighborhood that comes to the junior high. We're all part of the same community.
Yeah. It makes sense to be the same city.
Right now, the feasibility study will only
So there is
cover.
there is a chance that as we grow and get in place, there's a good chance that this little city could grow bigger and bigger. Maybe Huntsville wants to jump on board. Powder.
I hope Huntsville will, because
Yeah.
I think we've got great relationships and great resources. Their experience, even if we can just say in Ogden Valley, now we have the oldest continuously operating shooting star bar.
Right.
In our city.
Just for that bragging,
It's
right
just,
away.
it's good bragging rights.
Oh, I love it.
A little feather in the cap.
Yeah. Well, this has been super insightful. What do you wish more people knew or understood? If you had any like last words of advice for people within the area on what you wish they knew, I guess what would you say to them?
Just get involved. Just go talk to the candidates, go to the meetings, read the paper, participate, challenge, do all of the involvement that your neighborhood deserves. You're smart, you're successful, you're capable, and any new city needs the participation of the citizens. Get involved.
Yeah, that's really the only way it goes anywhere.
Yep.
Well, this has been awesome. I hope that we can have you on again. And I know one of these days, I'd love to hear the whole background of your story and family and the Valley, because I know there's a lot of gold nuggets in there. So we'll have to have you back another time. So, but thank you guys for joining us, and until next time.